You might want to turn that one off. And welcome to another episode of the Rant Show. As you can see, I'm joined by good old Jason here. Jason, hello.
Hello, how are we?
I'm very well. How are you?
Oh, not too bad so far.
Now, you've had to deal with me all day today, and you're going to deal with me again tonight. We are live around Facebook, bringing you the Rant Show, and we are also joined by our good friend over in Mandurah, Peter. How are you, Peter? Now,
Hey, Peter.
You thankfully haven't had to put up with me all day. Trust me, it hasn't been a pleasure. I've been on the phone call with my accountant. I've been trying to sort everything out. Let me just unmute you. No one could actually hear you say good day for a second there. But no one has actually, it's been one of those...
G'day.
Yeah, good day. It's been one of those days where it's all good and well that the government's giving a stimulus package out there, but how is it going to affect your business? That's what today's show is all about. Because
G'day.
Okay, we'll get it, Peter. Because at the end of the day, for some businesses, definitely young businesses that may have not only been in business for less than 12 months, but may be making a loss at the moment. Now, I'm not an accountant, and anything we say here is just for entertainment purposes only, and please check with your accountant before going and spending any money, because maybe your accountant can become your best friend, as they have quickly become mine.
But just to clarify, I thought you actually had to make money to make a loss.
I think you can actually make a loss anytime. Trust me. Look at our business; we're making a loss. And now this is. I also want to, before we jump into the tallies and all that kind of stuff, which we will get into shortly, I want to just let you know something that I found out today. Is that the Synergy in WA, they're our power company, just for people out there. If you run a small business, you may be, you are eligible for a $2,000 credit to your bill or to your account, and also a 6 months extension or deferment of your owing amount. For small businesses, I know, like my business, paying rent, power, phone bill, all that kind of stuff, insurance on top of that, can sometimes be a little bit of a catch-22. You're always struggling to get the money. You might have income from suppliers that need to get paid, or they're late on payment. Managing money seems to be a bit hard. So I would recommend, well, as general advice only and not personal to you, I would recommend maybe giving Synergy a quick call and asking them about how that you can get your hands on that $2,000 worth of credit. It is a once-off stimulus package, part of the WA government. But Peter, you run a business, but you don't have a business premise. I guess this $2,000 doesn't come to your way.
Well, I used to have a premises and we don't now because I'm operating from home, but we have solar panels on the roof, which means that we're actually in credit all the time anyway.
I wish I had solar panels. Trust me, it would make my job a lot easier. But yeah. What?
When we originally decided to go for solar panels, I sat down and calculated based on past bills and projecting into that increases in electricity prices and that sort of thing as well. And so far, we've managed to stay, somewhere between $200 and $500 in credit every time a bill comes through.
Yeah, it's always good to have solar panels. So maybe that's the way people can spend the $10,000 if they own their own premise. Just go and whack on some solar panels onto your business premises. Yeah. That's a very good way. Now, we are talking about the stimulus package here for some businesses, not all. You will get, as our dog come in the camera angle. I don't know if you can see Evie, but she is jumping on Jason's leg. But we are talking about stimulus package because as some businesses will get a $10,000 payment or a minimum $10,000 payment in May, and then another $5,000 in July, and another $5,000 in September. Now, this is all good and well, but if your business is currently not making money and you get this stimulus package, What do you think it's counted as? Do you think it's counted as a donation to your business? Do you think it's just called a stimulus package to your business? Well, Peter, what do you think it's called?
I think it's called income.
Yeah, it's definitely called income, and that was a bit of a shock to me today when I was like, oh, yeah, I get a handout, whoa! But no, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And look, this is relevant to me, and if it's relevant to me, I want to pass the information out to our listeners and to our viewers because it may be relevant to them as well. This is the big thing. Like, we had a full plan for this stimulus money, which was to pay for staff and to do the right thing, the things that the government was telling us to spend it on. They were telling us, put some in the bank. They were telling us to pay your staff with it. Well, we got news today from our accountant to spend it, to absolutely get rid of the money. You do not want it.
Well, actually, the government never said don't spend it. But what the government was hoping for you to spend it on is paying your staff and getting people and keeping people in their jobs on top of, as well as receiving the JobKeeper payment. So it was never meant to just sit there for your business. It was meant to be spent. Biggest thing you find is with this money is they've given it out just before the tax time. So they're going to give you $10,000. They're probably going to take about $3,000
or whatever your tax is,
and whatever your tax is. If you can get tax back, then you might get a lot of that $3,000 back. But in actual fact, you'll probably only get around $7,000 to actually spend of it if you don't spend it straight away.
Immediately, yes.
Yeah. And this comes down to where people are. Like, look, I would love to be able to keep that money aside and just let it sit there and earn some interest and maybe put it in some shares, or even though we're not going to get there, but shares basically would be a smart thing for some businesses to do, because at least after all this is over and done with, the stock market should rise back up like a phoenix, and you should be able to make some profit off it. However, general advice only, for entertainment purposes only. I do have to clarify, I'm not a financial service person, and that this is just hypothetical.
It's not hypothetical, it's based on you.
Well, yeah, based on what I would do. Okay, let's say Russell could do whatever he wants, which Russell can't do whatever he wants. What would Russell do? I would put $4,000 aside for my staff, because I've calculated that's how much the rest of the year would cost for my staff. I would then spend the other $5,000 to basically use to invest in things, to make sure that the business has some sort of income ongoing. It sounds like a good idea to me. However, it doesn't seem like that's a good idea. It sounds like that it's actually the worst idea that a business could do, because one, that money's sitting in the bank or in the stock market. Two, that's putting a lot more risk on your side, because what if the stock market doesn't take off? Then of course you're going to lose money. But look, there's a risk in everything. So there's another incentive for small businesses at the moment, which came to my attention today, called the asset write-off tax, which this basically means that normally it's about $20,000 a year. They've upped it to $30,000. Now, until July, I think it's July 30. Don't quote me on that. Please check your accountant.
July 30, yeah.
It's up to $100,000 asset write-off. So this means that you could buy an asset of up to $100,000, and instead of, let's say you buy a car, and that car is normally a 10-year lifespan, normally a bit of that comes off of
each year.
Well, what the government's allowing you to do is, because as long as you use that for 100% in your first year, then you can claim the whole amount
before July 30, which is the end of the financial year. So,
well, you can claim it for this tax period.
But just to clarify too on that too, if you buy a commercial vehicle, it's up to 150.
That's what we just said.
No, you said 100,000. The commercial vehicle alone is up to 150,000, which you can claim back.
Look, again, ask your accountant, because we're not accountants, and we could have some of these figures wrong. But this is what we've been told from our side and from our accountants. So the biggest things, there's 3 criteria that you need to check out before you look at the asset write-off. 1, who is purchasing this asset? Is it you or is it your business? For us, it would be our company purchasing it. So that's tick number 1. 2, are you going to be using finance for this or not finance for this? Apparently, getting finance for whatever the asset is actually does play a role in how much money you can actually claim back. Thirdly, it's also whether you're leasing the vehicle or leasing the asset or buying it outright. Apparently, it's better if you buy it outright. Buying it outright does mean that you can claim it all. So the biggest thing for us, like, we've been wanting a station car. It's been no secret. We've gone around to car yards. I know they all watch us. So hello to all the car yards that we visit. And we've been going there since, most probably July last year. We've been trying to friend them all up and say, give us a station car. Well, that's not going to happen. So we've now just been kind of blessed, I guess you could say, and kind of stressed, because now we have this $10,000. $20,000 if you wait till September, but the problem is we need it gone before September. We need it gone before the end of July.
Can I clarify something? No, like, I think the thing we're most blessed with, though, is actually having the proper information now.
Yeah, I think that,
which we never had before, and I think this is the whole COVID-19 thing. It's the information hasn't been put out there correctly. It's one thing to say we're going to give you 10 grand or we're going to write off 100 grand. But when you don't actually know what your criteria is or what you need to bring to the party to get that in return, I think that is the most beneficial thing we received out of the whole day today was actually knowing from people who actually know, and not politicians giving you a half-baked version on a 3-minute interview on the tally.
Yeah.
And now, can I? Once you've finished, I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay, is this information you're now talking about relevant to businesses in the state of Western Australia or Australia-wide?
Well, from what we can tell, it is for. Look, we're in WA, but I'm going to say that this is general information. I would definitely recommend that everyone before tax time goes and sees their accountant. If you know that your business is going to be one of the businesses benefited by the stimulus package, I would seriously consider looking at what your business needs, look at what you can build underneath your business, and look at what smart choices. Like, for us, we can either A, spend $10,000 on advertising and put $10,000 on the Kwinana Freeway billboard, or buy a TV commercial and get basically bugger all out of it.
You need 15,000 for one of those.
Oh, there you go, 15,000 apparently. Or what we could do is buy a station car. Like, to me, a station car would be able to get us to the Mandurah Crab Festival. It would get us up to, like, you know, we could do so much more with a station car that's been unwrapped.
Would you maybe get some graffiti people to do a spray painting job on it?
God, no. But we would not get graffiti.
No, it has to be.
It has to be professionally wrapped with our logo, of course.
But see, and the good thing about that professional wrapping too, when the next lot of stimulus comes out after this financial year, again, with that rebate thing the government gives you for when you buy a new product, that advertising on that vehicle will also be covered too.
Look, again, he's talking off his head right here.
That is 100%.
Look, at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is using the money for the best of your business at the end of the day. Because
and then you've got a vehicle that you can carry all the speakers and amps and mixers and that sort of thing, which you're going to buy from me, to various events. There's all of the fairs and events and that sort of thing where you want to put out a big public.
Claim that back too. We can double dip.
Look, it's the reason why we labelled this one the stimulus episode was because up till today I just thought it was just money going to hit my account and all was going to be like cool. I didn't.
But were you really expecting that, or were you just hoping that? Because there is always a catch when a government says, "I'm going to give you money." There is always a catch. It's not going to be as simple as, you know, here's 10 grand. Go do what you wish with it, and we're not going to bother trying to recoup some of it back. Of course not.
I expected them to recoup some of their money back, but I didn't expect them to recoup it back so soon.
Of course they will.
Because
with taxes, they happen in each financial year. They've
okay,
released this one just before this financial year, so of course they're going to try to get some of it back.
let me.
I think it's so slippery, though, isn't it? Give with one hand. Oh, look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then take with the other hand. Literally, as you say, at the end of the financial year, or just before the end of the financial year, they say to you, "Here, have these, but we'll take that one."
Your camera's moving, Peter. No, absolutely, and that's the thing. Like, I guess like that's the scary thing for businesses like mine, because my profit and loss statement, if I'm being honest with you all, I've made more loss than I've made profit. We earn about $600 through audio advertising a month. Now, my cost is definitely higher than $600 a month. Like, rent alone is... Sorry, Peter, you got way too much noise happening there. You're typing along or something. But we got so much stuff happening and expenditure happening that it's kind of like, well, okay, so you want to give me a $10,000 profit, which means that I could potentially end up getting profit. Hello, Lucy. And guess what? It means it means sorry, my dog's just licking me. Lucy, down, please. Thank you, darling.
Where is she licking you?
On my lips. I guess that's wrong. Hello, beautiful. Okay, so sorry. As I was trying to say, like, the risk is that every accountant will tell you, or at least my accountants have, and people who work in the accounting industry have told me, every startup business in their first year should make a loss, and a big loss. The more money you lose, the better.
They always do, but you can carry that loss forward.
Yeah, so profits are bad, losses are good.
See, the thing is, I wonder though. Just one thing I've thought about all day since finding out this information. When they give you this as an earning, right? So it's a profit into your business, right?
Income, yeah.
Yeah, it's an income into your business, right?
Yes.
What happens when you get taxed on your $10,000, right? You pay that tax. If you've still got that money in your account for the start of the next financial year, does that get taxed again?
Again, I'm not an accountant, so I'm not going. And Peter's shaking his head, saying no.
Well, he could talk so everyone could know what he's doing.
I still had a mouthful of water. No. You only get the income once.
Mm. Oh, yeah, you can only get taxed once out of income. However, there's other taxes that they could apply, such as if you're earning money off of that money, that is.
Oh yeah, but that's more income.
Yep. So the biggest thing is, like, for me, I know from what I understand from business and from what my accountants have said to me is you want to make a loss. Your business has been...
Out from under there now.
Sorry, people, we have animals in the studio, and this is why you never work with animals, because they're in the studio. But
don't call him an animal.
I wasn't talking about him.
He was talking
about my two dogs.
He's talking about both of us, Peter.
But seriously, like, we hope you're enjoying this Rant Show. Don't forget you can comment below in our chat room and in our chat, and we'll get to those in just a little bit. But the interesting thing here is what should you use your stimulus money for? That's my question. Like, let's say a takeaway shop who hires some staff, they get a few 20. Let's say they get 20 grand from the stimulus package. Where should they be spending their money? Where should they be? What should they be doing? Because my first opinion was, I'll just go and pay my bills, and I'll get that sorted.
But again, it's like us. You'd be investing in your business. So anything. So if you're a takeaway food shop, you might go buy a new deep fryer or a new grill top or something like that. That's what they're wanting you to do. Also,
it's a stimulus. it's a stimulus, and paying bills is not part of the stimulus.
Yeah, because you do that anyway every quarter. So there's no benefit for the government, and a lot of the state-based electricity, say, isn't going to benefit the federal government based on this stimulus package. So they want you to go things that they're going to bring I guess a higher tax. So like a deep fryer for a cafe or a new coffee machine or something like that to bring in good money, and it's just not only just put an investment into your business, but also you buying that deep fryer or grill top from another company. That gives them money to spend. So then they spend that money on something that they want. Yeah.
Yeah, look, it's a circle going around, and sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We do have Lucy just peering around, saying hello to everyone.
Yeah.
She hasn't seen me for a few weeks, so fair enough. I don't mind her saying hello. But look, it is one of those things where a stimulus package is good in theory, but it can hurt the bottom end. Like, it could upset your business. So for us, like my advice was, given to me, it was to make sure that I spend more than $10,000 on the asset.
Why more? If you're given 10,000 and they want you to spend more than 10,000, why is that?
Because then I get the excess that I spend back at tax time.
Yeah. So
for example, if I bought a car for $19,990, I would get $9,990 back at tax time.
Yeah. So what they want you to spend more because again, when you get that rebate back at tax time, well, that means that it's giving you that money to spend somewhere else. So it's that flow-on effect. It's that.
So basically, that $10,000, if I brought a car for $10,000 at tax time, I get none of it back.
Aha.
It breaks even.
Right.
But if I spend more than $10,000, I get the extra bit back. And that's the biggest point as well, because like for me, it's like, okay, well, I don't have $7,000 more.
Well, just to clarify, actually, I think you misunderstood what he said today.
No, that's exactly what he said. Like that is like at the end of the day, you wouldn't want to spend, like in my case, you want to spend more than what you're going to get, because you've already got the income tax, which you're going to get charged whether or not you spend it or not. You need to spend that money and then spend extra to offset everything.
And you've got to do it before our end of financial year, the 30th of June.
Yeah. It's a very dangerous thing. It's
not dangerous. It's actually
okay.
It's a smart way of doing it, because again, you're going back into that cycle effect where you're spending money, getting money back, which means you're going to spend it again, and in next financial year, if you buy something after the 30th from money you've got back for this financial year, well, you can claim the rebate back on the following tax year. So it does have a flow-on effect.
But they want the stimulus to happen now, and not in 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah, but that's why they're giving you that rebate. So what happens? What happens is, right. So you spend $30,000 on a car, you get that money back being a new product in your government rebate. So that money you wouldn't physically have normally. So when you get that rebate back of $30,000 from the government, well, that means it transfers into the next year where you spend it again on something else, and so it does have next year. As much as people don't think next year means that much, it means just as much for next year as what it does this year.
I think that the problem is
because the government's not going to recover in 6 months. It's going to take 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
So it's that thing where you got to hopefully everybody spends up big over the next 12 months for it to have any real major benefit back to the country.
The problem I find is businesses are already doing it tough, and the stimulus package, while it's all good in theory, you're giving businesses $10,000 before tax time. That's fantastic. And actually, you could technically maybe be giving them. I can't remember if the $5,000 hits my bank account in July or June, but in one of those months, I'll get another $5,000. Which, if it falls before the tax threshold, that means that I'm up for $15,000, not $10,000. You see what I mean? Like, because they're spreading out the first, you get the 10,000, then or a percentage of it, according to my accountant, is 10,000. Then you'll get a $5,000 in June or July. Then you'll get one in September of $5,000. So they're spreading out the other $10,000 towards the end of the year, but.
Yeah, again, because it goes back to that thing where they're trying to get you to spend throughout the next 12 months. That's why it's happening.
Look, I just think that if you're going to give a business $20,000, for example, give it to them in one lump sum.
No, because that wouldn't work. It would not work. Because you need that business to not only survive now, but you need it to survive 6 months down the track. There's no good making them survive through this period. If after this virus is finished, that they go belly up anyway. You see.
Well, see, this is the other thing. Let's move over to the United States for a second. We're talking about stimulus and tax and all that kind of stuff tonight. The United States has deferred tax. So normally they would be doing their tax returns in March, January, March, April, May. Yeah, sorry, April. March or April.
They've got the same sort of financial year as what we do.
Well, so they basically pushed it back to July for this year. And the reason why I know this is I listened to another podcast, a very popular podcast with a NSYNC member in it, Lance Bass. And he's like, we don't have to do our tax at the moment. We get to push it back till July for them as well. So it's really interesting to see that the United States has pushed back their tax period just to help people out as much as possible, I guess.
Please tell me you're not taking your financial advice from a singer in a boy band.
No, I'm not. It was just very interesting. But what's more interesting is the question I have, and I know none of us can really answer it because we don't work for the government and we don't have financial backgrounds, but should maybe we just scrap this financial year? As in, like, should we just not worry about tax for this financial year and worry about tax in 2021?
No, you can't.
What do they say? God created three things: tax.
Well, look, it's one of those things that I think that we're going to continue talking about all over the next few weeks, and I think a lot of businesses who do get the benefits will be scratching their heads and wanting the best advice possible. As always, speak to your accountants. Your accountants will help you out where possible.
Get the advice. Do not assume.
Yep, absolutely. And sorry, my dogs have just ripped up something in the studio, which anyway.
Yes, your audio changed somehow.
Because Jason lowered my things.
Yeah, accidentally, sorry.
Can you go and put them in the other room, because they can't read that. Look, it's very, very interesting. Sorry, I'm just having to kick the dogs out of the studio.
It's like having children, isn't it?
Well, there's foam here that I know that if I get this foam on me, it makes me itch, and they've just put a big chunk of it in their mouth.
Yeah, they're like children for sure.
So I've just kicked them out. I've just kicked them out of this room. Have they shut? Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, so we're going to continue here. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go over to the... I'm just trying to see if I've got the numbers here. 1 second. I'm just trying to see if I've got them. Here we are. We are going to...
Your audio's changed again.
Yes, I know, because I'm all the way back here. What I'm going to do is going to go and move over to the... Roger Cook. He's a health minister for WA government, and this is what he said today. Take a listen.
And today in particular, I want to thank the phlebotomists of Western Australia and the medical scientists that work in our pathology labs, making sure that we've got the test results that we need to be able to make good decisions about the future. And some of you may have heard earlier, overnight, WA has recorded 2 new Western Australian cases of COVID-19. Additionally, we have 1 extra case of the Artania cruise ship, bringing the state's total to 535. All new cases are based in Perth and are adults aged between 38 and 74 years. Of the two WA cases, 1 is from the cruise ship Costa Victoria, and the other is currently under investigation. The total number of WA cases linked to cruise ships is now at 214, and that represents 40% of our total cases. There are currently 33 confirmed COVID-19 patients in Perth Metropolitan Hospitals, and of those, just 8 remain in ICU. To date, 25,088 Western Australians have tested negative for COVID-19. 5,279 of those are from regional Western Australia. There are now 340 recovered cases in the state, meaning 64% of all WA cases are now recovered.
Okay, so we're going to stop it there. So 64% of cases are now covered. Peter, what do you think about that?
Look, those cruise ship numbers, imagine if there were no cases coming from cruise ships. It would be much, much better overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that.
40% in this state, and I know in some other states, in particular New South Wales, the numbers from the cruise ships are just horrendous. They really are. The numbers are all far, far better than I had anticipated a few weeks ago. I really did think they were going to be far higher than they are. So overall, I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I look, it is very interesting to only have 2 new cases in WA. There are talks, of course, to bring the restrictions or lift the restrictions up. At least that seems to be the focus of the media, is to lift it as soon as possible, to get things back to normal as soon as possible. Now, I do want to let you know that Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister of Australia, has ruled out that for the time being. He said that for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be under lockdown. So for the next month, ladies and gentlemen, these are the rules. We all know them by now. We know that you're to just stay at home and chillax.
But also to the states, if they have good numbers like Western Australia, do have the right to revise them if necessary.
I actually don't think they will.
I think McGowan will. I think because we're looking at most of our cases now coming from cruise ships. I think McGowan will. I think he won't go as far as totally wiping everything out. You'll be able to have smaller social gatherings, probably of 100 people. Your normal shopping hours will go back to normal. Your cafes will probably go back to normal. Your pubs and all that will take a little bit longer.
I don't think so.
It's a given because you can't.
It will be interesting.
It will be
interesting to see how it goes. I would imagine that they're going to try and leave everything as it is for the next 4 weeks. Reason? Because they want to avoid a second wave. Yeah. And if they maintain everything for 4 weeks and that flattened curve goes down, then they've actually got a very real chance that it could actually be pretty well wiped out and go extinct within the lockdown states and ultimately Australia as a whole. Now, if Australia literally has the virus go extinct within the country, then while we might have the borders of the country still closed, within the country we can actually get business back to normal. Internationally it won't be back to normal, but domestically it would be. So airlines would start flying between states and all that sort of thing.
I think you still have your cross-border lockdowns for quite a while.
The biggest problem that we find is that there is calls already, and the Australian government has hinted at this. Definitely, ABC was reporting it, that Scott Morrison is seriously considering bailing out Virgin Australia. Now, he wants to domestic airlines in Australia because of competition. Virgin Australia by no means has been underperforming for a long, long time. I've always wanted to buy their shares because I just think that they are a fantastic company to buy. But again, don't take my advice. I don't actually own any shares of Virgin, so I wouldn't benefit if you did buy it. But to me, they are the competition that Australia needs. However, my point that I want to get to is they don't seem to have made enough money to keep afloat during a crisis like this. Now
they've never made a profit.
Yeah, but don't forget too. Also, before this happened, airline travel was running. It was pretty much running at a loss long before this virus come along. And your biggest problem is with Virgin getting a bailout from the government.
Qantas wants one as well.
Qantas has so much pull in the Australian airline industry. Anything they say, the government gets scared. So the government is not going to label it as a bailout. They might label it, say, as an airline stimulus package, so it covers. And this what they said this morning. They'll cover it. They'll say it's an airline stimulus package to cover it, so Qantas don't get their back up by watching some other company be bailed out.
But this is the thing. Maybe they should be doing an airline stimulus package, because let's look at the airlines. We've got Rex, who does country airline travel. They've come out and said if they don't get a bailout or a stimulus package, they will go belly up. Now, Rex is a very, very small airline here in WA. They are definitely one of the airlines that is vital to the WA economy. They definitely help people fly from Perth to Carnarvon or Perth to country towns and mining spots all around Australia. WA, I should say, not Australia. But my thinking is, these smaller airlines that are struggling, no one's talking about them at the moment.
Actually, I thought Rex had pretty well already shut down and closed its doors.
Yeah, because you got COVID.
And then there are others too. There are there's Skipper.
Yeah,
there's.
But this is the thing. They're all in dire straits right now because of the lockdown, where you can't, unless you go into work, you can't leave the state.
But the smaller airlines are still flying miners to the mines.
Yes, but
even though they're a skeleton crew, they're still being flown there. So they're still.
The problem is the cost of running that airline.
Because they're under mining contracts, the mines, the BHP, Rio Tinto, have not actually withdrawn any funding from them. So they're still getting paid the same amount as what they were, because.
We don't know. Well, I guess this is the thing. We don't actually know their contracts. It could be cost per
BHP
person.
have already come out and said that they're not lowering the cost of what they're paying. They're not lowering.
Yeah,
what they're paying.
because the flights are chartered, or most of them are chartered, and so it doesn't matter how many passengers. Doesn't matter how many passengers are on the plane. The plane is chartered.
Yeah, it's a plane, and
so the cost of
the
it
crew
is
that are
covered.
paid for, not the seats.
I think the biggest other thing is
correct.
The other
correct.
thing I would mostly say is that's only a portion of their business.
No, not for Cobham. No, it's not. Cobham basically just does mining runs nowadays.
Yeah, most of those small airlines you're talking about, they just do mines.
Yeah, Skipper does do.
They're charters.
Esperance and Albany. So
yeah.
So the biggest thing. Go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure Rex flies from Sydney through to regional cities in New South Wales, and that would be under normal sort of passenger seat paying non-chartered flights.
Yeah.
Look, we do want to just say Linda Rudd. I would take it no relation to Kevin Rudd. She has posted on our Facebook live chat. Gets very confusing. She's talking, of course, about our stimulus package. It does get very confusing, Linda. It's making us all confused, and if we're confused, then how is anyone else meant to be not confused?
Yeah, it's confusing, and that's where you get the clarity from your accountant, a tax advisor, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's
taken us speaking to multiple people today to actually get a big picture, a big clear picture of how, of something that slightly makes sense to laymen like us who don't know much.
One of the biggest things that we found out is that the government small business loans that the banks are pushing and loan companies are pushing, where the government will go guarantor up to 50% of the loan, that's only for essential businesses. which means if you're a truck driver, as we got told, the one person went to this loan company. We won't say what loan company it was, but they went to this loan company and they wanted a loan to get them through this tough time, and they got rejected from the loan companies because they're not an essential service. Even though they're a truck driver and they drive goods up to regional areas and back.
And even though they've been labelled by the government as an essential service because they're travelling cattle to and from abattoirs to get which provide us with meat and so they have been labelled as an essential service by the government. It's just not by the people who
just
pay. How finance companies are actually it's what they determine when it comes to giving you money is what is an essential service. So which is ridiculous. A poor truck driver who's who if his wheels aren't turning, he's not making $1. Yeah, a lot of them get paid by the kilometre nowadays, like they do in the US.
More importantly, from an essential service perspective, if his wheels aren't turning, then there's no meat in the supermarket.
Well, then go vegans.
You notice how everybody went silent almost there until Peter laughed?
Well, maybe there's some bias. Maybe it's the veganism. So anyway,
if there's no red meat, I'm causing a riot.
Well, speaking about riots, actually, that's a good segue. Hello, little one. Sorry, that's Evie. Somehow she got back in the studio when she's not allowed to be here. Oh, okay. So I found out my boyfriend didn't do what I told him to do. Lovely.
He's supposed to do everything he's told to do, isn't he?
He's supposed to do everything. I'm supposed to not do everything he tells me to.
Look, all I want is my dogs not to get sick because that foam most probably.
Yes, alcohol. So alcohol consumption is up.
Yes,
significantly.
How?
Because people are still drinking.
Yeah, but when you can only buy one slab or 2 bottles of wine or 3 bottles of wine and 2 bottles of whiskey, how can you get on the terps if you?
It's called that old saying bar hopping. It's now called liquor shop hopping. Do you know how many liquor shops are in the city?
I'm just thinking how many are just in this local area themselves.
There's 4 that I know of.
I could take a couple $100 and be legless by the time I got back in 15 minutes.
Look, I just want to say this as well. Sam Newman has made the headlines because he marched to the Victorian Parliament building with his golf ball.
Golf club.
Golf clubs, that's it, thank you. Because they have shut down golf resorts and golf parks. Now, I'm sorry, Sam.
Courses.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sam. I know you're mostly just doing it for a publicity stunt because you want to stay relevant. And you got me talking about you, so you must be.
He's a funny bloke. He does do some funny stuff, but sometimes
but this is just a bit
sometimes he
overboard.
can be a genuine wanker.
And this time he was a wanker.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no question.
And I think
I think he's a wanker, and that's it.
It's a rich person entitlement, syndrome.
Not everyone has golf clubs, and not everyone can go and play golf, and not everyone's good at it.
I said some of them don't use the golf clubs for golf. So
for gloving,
for that one.
Look, we want to move on now to some numbers because I think we always give you some numbers here for tonight, and we're going to go with the first of the global number. So, as Peter says, sport commentating time.
Yes, we didn't do it last night, did we?
Yes, we did. We kind of did it. Okay, so total confirmed cases globally are up by 12,467, bringing the grand total to 2,097,569. The total deceased is 135,689, which brings the total to it's up by 1,004. Total serious is still stable at 51,092. Total recovered is 525,275, bringing the global recovery rate to 25.04%. It does mean the mortality rate is 6.47. Now, I will say that the interesting thing here is we're starting to see a slight bend. I wouldn't say it's quite a curve yet, but a slight bend in the current number of infection or infected rate in the global pandemic or the global number. Peter, we said that we were surprised about the numbers. What do you think about this? We're now, on the 16th of the 4th with over 2 million.
Look, when you actually look at what's happening in the world, something has happened overall which I actually never expected. If you go back to February, I never thought it was going to happen, but it did. That is that I think without exception, every country has adopted the shutdown. And by doing that, the experience of the world as a whole has been incredible as far as stopping this spread. Yeah. And the flattening of the curve is happening almost everywhere. And I think the USA might, if they end up doing what Trump is talking about doing, they might end up being the exception.
Speaking of wankers.
Wow. Look, I think it's one of the biggest things is that we need to look at each country and the global as its whole is really just an indicator of where everyone sits. Now, I just want to quickly check. So it's still according to this data, we still have the same number of countries infected. 180 countries out of 195.
Well, that's pretty much all of them.
No, as Peter said, Antarctica is still not infected.
No,
that's a whole continent with no infections.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
that's because they live underwater there in submarines. The US, you see, that's why.
Okay.
Well, I mean, let's admit Antarctic. The Antarctic is a rather exceptional case because they don't have communities, families, and all that sort of thing there at all, except with penguins. But it's just really scientific basis.
Let's move over to the United States. Talking about Donald Trump, the total confirmed cases sit at 644,348. That brings a daily increase by 259. The total deceased is 28,554. Means that they jumped up by 25 people passing away.
May I ask before you go on, how many people are there in America?
About 300 million.
Okay, so let's just put this into context, right? There's 28,554 people who have died out of 300 million, right? Yes, the numbers sounds bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. There could have quite easily been 1 million people dead right now.
Yeah. This is what I was expecting. Truly, if truly in February I was expecting those types of numbers would be happening, and they're not going to happen.
And it's the New York governor, who I think is an absolute genius of a bloke, the way he's standing up to Trump. You know, if it wasn't for him, that you would see that number at 1 million people because
according to this,
he's the only one. Before you go on, he's the only one who's actually had the cojones to stand up to Trump and say, "No, this is how it's got to be."
Okay,
well, the only one that we're aware of from where we sit, yes.
I do want to just say that the current population of the United States of America is sitting at 330,559,984 as of Thursday, April 16, 2020.
I was only out by 30,500 and whatever 84.
Oh yeah, that was close.
Based on the world, I do want to say based on the Worldometer, there's a whole thing. But anyway,
when we look at these numbers, and this is where they've got to take the fear factor out, because when they're relaying the numbers to the public, there is a lot of fear behind it. But if you think about it, right, 330 million people in America. How many total deaths worldwide? I think it's just over 2 million or something.
I guess the biggest thing, though. Excuse me, I've got a frog in
a
my
world
throat.
full of just under 8 billion people, to have 2 million people who have died, it's I'm only saying this in context, in numbers. It could have gone a hell of a lot worse, even worldwide. And we've got to sit back and say, as much as you might hate governments, you might hate what they do 9 times out of 10 throughout the year. I think governments need to have a bit of a pat on the back in most places in the world for what
Yeah.
we've been able to keep it down
Yeah,
to. And I
I have to agree with you because if we had have done the same type of thing that was done in 1918, 1919 with the Spanish flu,
Yep.
we would have seen hundreds of millions of people die.
Yep, exactly. So
Look,
I think we've got to commend a lot of governments, and I think our healthcare workers need a massive pat on the back. I think.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to move on.
Yeah.
We do have to move on from the United States, but we'll just say that the population, total population, so the United States equals 4.25% of the total world population. So we do just want to just let you know
we
that
have a
as
look
well.
at
And
Australia's
just
numbers, please?
can I say something else which is relevant, and that is deaths per 1 million of population. US 86 deaths per 1 million of population.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you connect that, compare that to Spain. Spain's is 409 deaths per 1 million population. So Spain at this stage is way out in front as far as, well, most countries.
Look, and talking about Spain for a second, we do actually have our Spanish show starting at 8 p.m. tonight, so we will be wrapping this up shortly. But let's look at the total confirmed cases in Spain, 182,816. They're up from yesterday by 2,157. They have lost another 318 people, unfortunately, bringing their total deceased to 19,130. Their total serious still stands at 7,371. The total recovered is 74,797, which means that their recovery rate is 40.91%. It does, however, mean that their mortality rate sits at 10.46%. So that's very, very...
yeah, but again, but while you're reading out those numbers...
But I will say this, it does look like their confirmed number of infection is flattening. It does look
But
like
a country we need to really look at is Belgium, which sits right next to France, between France and Holland. And Belgium's numbers are even higher. It's one that sort of slipped under the radar. We weren't looking at it. Everyone was looking at it.
I'll just switch over to Belgium right now. So the Belgium's total confirmed cases sits at 34,809. Their daily increase is 1,236. Total deceased at the moment sits at 4,857, meaning that they have gone up by 417. Their total serious is stable at 1,182. Total recovered is 7,562, means their recovery rate is 21.72%. Their mortality rate, of course, is 13.95%. That's a very, very, very high mortality rate.
I also put that in the context of those high numbers with a population of just around 12 million people. So
hang on, are you right there? Because that's
2019. So I'm sure
that's
gone.
not 12,000.
I said
12 million.
Deaths per
12 million. Deaths per million, 419, and I think that's the highest of any country.
Yeah.
Look, it's one of those things where I guess.
But see, Belgium's a funny country too, because Belgium borders onto a lot of other countries, and you know it's quite possible especially for a small country like Belgium to have, you know, people coming from France. You know, you get, I think Germany's on one side, isn't it, or something like that, if I remember correctly. So
do you not know how to geolocate?
Oh, I can't remember exactly.
It's got France on one side, it's got Holland on the other, and it would also border, I think, with probably Germany as well.
Yeah. Look, so you think about that with those large populations in Germany and France, you are going to get quite a lot of cross-border infection there, because you know millions of people travel by road in Europe, you know, every day. So because the countries are so small, they are travelling cross borders more often, say, than what we are here.
Well,
in
I would
Australia.
think the borders would be shut by now.
A lot of countries no.
Let's move over to the United Kingdom, the UK. The total confirmed cases there is 99,483. Doesn't seem to be any new cases
So you
being
look at
recorded.
the cases compared to the death numbers in the UK. That is just.
Let's just move over to the total deceased. It's still sitting at 12,894. The numbers have not changed since yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. The total serious is 1,559. It does mean that the recovery rate is 0.37%. The mortality rate is 12.96%. it is really interesting to see that. I take it this is well.
Would I be correct in saying the United Kingdom has one of the higher age population? Would I be right in saying that? I'm sure I heard that somewhere.
Did you?
Countries like Italy have specifically got a higher
Older
age population.
So you can sort of see
UK. I'm not sure of the population demographics.
So I always understood from what I've heard. They're like Australia. We do have an aging population, which could be a lot of reasons for being these people these countries having higher death tolls. We have people who are more susceptible, like Italy, who's had which has just been so unbelievable.
Before we run out of time, because we do only have 5 minutes left. We should go and check out New Zealand, I think. New Zealand is another country very close to us. Of course, people know that. And I do want to just look at North Korea. We haven't looked at North Korea at all so far since doing the Rant Show. So we'll look at New Zealand right now. They've had a daily increase of 15, bringing their total confirmed cases to 1,401. Total deceased is steady at 9. Total serious is 3. Total recovered is 770. Bringing their recovery rate to 54.96%, and it means their mortality rate is 0.64%. Now, if you look at the current infection graph, it is dropping in New Zealand. It's actually doing really, really well, dropping. And it does look like their total confirmed cases is starting to flatten, just still on a slight curve going up. And the deceased, of course, the deceased graph is going to continue going up because that's a total deceased graph that we've got.
But even so, deaths per million is only 2.
Yeah, exactly. And I think New Zealand should be very proud of themselves the way I think they've led the world. To be honest with you,
we said this yesterday. I said if the New Zealand Prime Minister wants to send her military might all over to Australia and take over Australia, she's more than welcome to. Now, I do want to just move.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do want to move to North Korea. We have no numbers for North Korea.
Really? Why would you want to move to North Korea?
But don't forget too, countries like North Korea, like a country like North Korea, probably ain't going to release any data to anybody. Let's be realistic. They're probably sitting there in their own little world, cacking their dacks something bad because it's going crazy through there, and nobody's going to know about it because little Kim Jong Un.
So what I want to move to is over to South Korea, very close to North Korea. 10,613 is the total confirmed cases. It's up by 22. The total deceased is also up by 4, bringing it to 229. Total serious is 55. Total recovered is 7,757, bringing the recovery rate. This is a shocking one: 73.09%.
Yeah, because you're looking at people who you're looking at country there who, they're people live by their food, so they're eating better than what we would. They're living better lifestyles than what we would.
I just wanted to before Peter jumps in, because I can see that he wants to jump in. 2.16% is the mortality rate for South Korea. And I will say this: the graphs are not loading. I cannot see the graphs at the moment on my screen. So the system has just said...
Who's that for?
That's South Korea. The South Korea graphs.
North Korea just blew them up.
Don't say that. we don't want to be banned off Facebook Live, Jason. So let's not say things like that, please.
Okay. You've got to remember something. Japan, South Korea, Singapore, China, those countries all experienced only about 10 years ago. They all experienced SARS. SARS is related to coronavirus. The coronavirus.
Let me just.
So they had systems in place. They were, in many respects, they were ready for it, and they jumped on it very quickly.
Yeah.
The rest of the world didn't.
Let me just jump in. If we look at the graph, I know that you, ladies and gentlemen, you can't see the graph at home. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that because I don't know if the camera's going to.
No, not working.
Yeah, it's not working today. The graph is actually going down. I'll take a screenshot and put it on the DRM1 Facebook page. South Korea's graph is going down, so that's awesome to see.
And Peter, feel free to finish off what you're saying there, by the way, since he rudely interrupted.
I'm trying to keep us to a schedule. We're literally going to be over time because we've only got a minute.
That's right.
And I've got to get another show ready. So I am absolutely trying to keep us to time here, ladies and gentlemen.
So the other day our show was 30 minutes late, trying to keep things to time.
Yeah. We're doing a what suits Russell thing here today.
Okay, so let's move over to one more country before we go, because we do want to just say good day to our Canadian friends. Canada. Well, some people call it Canada and some people call it Canada.
Nobody calls it Canada.
No one calls it Canada.
Well, we do now. Our good friend, I'm going to get killed by some of our Canadian people. But their numbers are steady. I do want to just because we haven't mentioned their tally. Total confirmed cases is 28,379. Our total deceased is 1,010. The total serious is 557. Total recovered is 8,979. Brings the recovery rate to 31.64%. The mortality rate is 3.56%. I know I said that very fast because we are running out of time, so I did have to say that very fastly.
Did you get that? Do you understand that? That's what I'm trying to read out here very quickly.
Look, it's basically 3.56% mortality rate in Canada. That is really a good rate to have. Like, it's not the best rate to have.
No, so you look at how many cases compared to how many who have passed away from it, it's not really that flash. 1,000 and 28,000 have passed away.
At least it's not 10%.
No, it's not 10%,
okay.
But it's...
Canada, as you call it, has had 27 deaths per million. That's not crash hot, that number.
What's the Australian death per million? Just out of curiosity.
I would have to try and find
So,
a stadium. This list is not alphabetical.
Oh, okay.
It's based on numbers, and so
that's how you get percentages.
Worst to best, and we're at 2 deaths per million.
Yeah.
2 deaths per million. Who's beating us? Let's see who's the least country.
Oh, I can tell you, because these are all listed in order. If we go right the way down to countries like Yemen, they have 1 case. So they're 0 per million. If you look at Papua New Guinea, they have 2 cases. Caribbean Netherlands, 3 cases. And some of the other, like Antigua and Bhutan, has got 5 cases total. Vatican City has got 8 cases total. Nicaragua has got 9 cases. Gambia's got 9. So, there's some countries here with very low numbers. Falkland Islands has got a lot. They've got 11.
Can we quickly put this into perspective? Because I'm using this put this into perspective thing a lot at the moment. But
that's his favourite word of the day, perspective.
Yeah, and I actually got it out without screwing it up, so even better. So, look, worldwide, and I think this is where we can take a bit of we can take a bit of solace here, and more people die from suicide, more people die from cancer. I think we all need to take a bit of a chill pill and just relax with this thing and put up with the situation that we got, because this is going to affect a lot more people than this is going to affect a lot more people through things like suicide, and mental health than what it is, through the actual virus itself. So I think we need to sit back and, I think we need to sit back and cop it sweet, and thank the governments and the health workers for doing the right thing and keeping us all safe.
I don't disagree with that. I think that we I disagree from a little bit, but not too much. I think that the doctors and nurses are doing a fantastic job. They should be commended and good on them. We had someone in our office earlier today who applied to help the government, because the government's saying that they're doing a drive to push new medical staff on, and doctors and nurses, and they want people with experience. He has applied, or this person has applied, and hasn't got a phone call from anyone. Now, that raises a big red flag. And
what he failed to mention also too is it was if they were needed. They have not been needed.
But you would think that they would contact you and say, "Oh, we've got your details. We're going to keep you on standby."
People like him will probably be contacted when they start actually putting a proper plan for the next events. When they actually have medical stockpiles here in WA and disaster plans in place for things like pandemics, which, as you can tell by the government's very good, but fumbling through this whole situation. This won't happen again. This won't get as bad as what it has next time round, because this is going to wake a lot of people up, and they're going to start putting in disaster plans for things like pandemics, because up until now we're just little old Australia surrounded by water. Nobody thought something like this could get here.
This is exactly why I said South Korea, Japan are doing well, because they were ready for it.
Yeah, exactly.
We weren't ready for it.
And next time, I think you're going to find, if this happens again in my time when I'm alive, you're going to find
And it will.
going to go
It
straight
will.
into lockdown, and there will be nobody going anywhere.
Yeah. I saw a program where some scientists were saying there are thousands of diseases in the animal world which could jump into the human world at any moment.
Yeah,
And any one of those thousands could be the same thing or worse.
And while we still got to have these wet markets around the world, it's going to happen many times over. So
Look, I don't think
and I saw something today, which again is a rumor, that there was thinking that it all came from someone eating dogs, which had been fed unwashed, unclean bats.
Look, let's not even go into conspiracy theories.
Uncooked bats.
Let's not
blaming Batman.
Let's not go into conspiracy theories, because I think people don't give a crap where it came from. They just we got it. We've got to deal with it, and we've got to move forward.
It's all Batman's fault.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us in this rant episode. Don't forget, you can comment below at any time. We do check old comments. We do check old videos and check for comments. So tune in tomorrow. We will be back at our normal time at 8 p.m. tomorrow, just because we have to change the time because we have a Spanish show, which we hope you tune into at 8 p.m. tonight. So if you like to dance and like some Latin vibes, then we're going to be sending out an exclusive special Spanish show. El Ritmo de Verano is the show coming to you at 8 p.m., which is just in 55 minutes time. So please tune in to that show, and thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about real estate and their current situation, because while the government might say to you, oh, you can't get kicked out of your house, well, we've been told something different, and we're going to report that to you tomorrow. Woohoo! Stick around, stay tuned, and thank you for tuning in to